Um, this is my daughter and I, last time we saw each other, which was 6 years ago. So this is her and I on December 26th, 2017. And today is May 19th, 2023. And in 4 days, on May 23rd, she's going to be 11 years old. She was 5 in this picture, and that is the last time we've seen each other. And she only lives 20 minutes away. Um, but I haven't been able to see her in 6 years because of actions taken by my ex-husband in family court. Um, bas- okay, basically, I'm trying to say is it's really hard to talk about, but there's no reason that I can't see my daughter. It's just that my ex hired the most aggressive lawyer money can buy, and he attacked me when my daughter was very little. And at the time, I had no money, so I couldn't get a lawyer, and I couldn't defend myself against his attacks. And he spent $200,000 attacking me in court, and so he got full custody of our daughter, and he has made it impossible for me to fight to be in her life. I also pay child support and I work full time, but I can't afford to fight him in court because his family is very wealthy. His father is the CEO of the Entertainment Community Fund. It used to be called the Actors Fund. His name's Joe Benincasa, and my ex-husband is his son, Chris Benincasa. And this is my daughter, Ava Benincasa, and I. And this was 6 years ago. We have not seen each other since this day. People are using the family court system to abuse their exes, like as a way of enacting. It's a form of domestic violence known as, sometimes called, parental alienation or domestic violence by proxy, or legal abuse or family court abuse. Or vexatious litigation. There's lots of terms for it, but it's using the family court system to try to destroy the other parent, because you don't want to co-parent with them, and you want to punish them because the relationship failed by not letting them see their child grow up, or not letting them have a relationship with their own child. And on top of that, usually the non-custodial parent, like myself, has to pay child support to the custodial parent. Now, people think this usually happens to the fathers, and maybe in the past that was true, but it's happening to mothers too. And people probably also think that I tried to do this to him, but I would never have done this. I never wanted to have the family courts involved in any way. I never asked for alimony or child support or anything, even though they have lots of money and I didn't, and I still don't. I only wanted to co-parent with him, and I wanted to do that peacefully and civilly. And so even after we separated, I spent the first year of our separation. He spent the first year of our separation attacking me in court, and I spent that time trying to convince him that we didn't have to settle this in court at all, because we didn't have to go to court, because I never tried to keep our daughter away from him. He was welcome at my house anytime, and I would bring her over for visits with him regularly. And on special occasions like her birthday, I invited him and his family and friends, and I was just trying to set a precedence, which was, even if we're not together, we can still co-parent and we don't have to get the courts involved. But he refused to try to keep things civil and peaceful. And him and his lawyer just devised a strategy to win full custody and completely annihilate me in court. And this happened because he could. It happened for a couple of reasons. First of all, because he could, because his dad is a multimillionaire, and he could afford that kind of legal representation, and he can afford to blow $200,000 in court. So obviously not everyone can do that, but he can. So that's why people think, when people say, oh, the mother never gets, or the father never gets full custody unless the mother is like a crack addict or something. There should be like a footnote under that or an asterisk, because like, yeah, maybe there's some truth to that, except unless the father is willing to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, then anything goes, of course, because children are very much for sale in the US, and especially in our family court system, which is a multi-billion-dollar legal child trafficking system. We have a multi-billion-dollar adoption industry, and family court and CPS are part of that. And so anyway, there's no real reason to keep my daughter and I apart. Like, as you can see from this picture, we love each other very much. I'm not, I was a good mother to her. I'm not a violent or abusive or negligent parent. I just didn't want to raise her the way that my mother-in-law wanted to raise her. And she wanted full control and full ownership of her. And they knew that they could get that through the family court system by spending, they knew if they spent a couple $100,000, they could have full ownership and control of her, because, you know, that's just how the system works. If you are able to spend that kind of money, like, you can pretty much get whatever you want. Verdicts are for sale to the highest bidder. Children are for sale to the highest bidder. So that's what happened. And it's been torture. I can't even explain, but I luckily have gotten involved in the movement for children's rights and to like end this kind of abuse and end family policing. And there's so many wonderful people speaking out against child trafficking in America, CPS, family court, etc. I highly recommend Dorothy Roberts, for one. She's a professor of University of Pennsylvania, and she wrote a book called Torn Apart, and it's all explained in the book. So, plus there's just so many voices on the internet speaking out against this, because it's just devastating. Family separation is devastating, and it's a form of child abuse, because depriving a child of their mother, of the love of their mother or their father, but depriving a child of the love of their parent is a form of child abuse. And there's something called maternal separation trauma, which is a form of developmental PTSD. So if you don't believe me, you can read about it. But I mean, anyway, I could talk endlessly about this, but it's very hard to gather my thoughts and put them in a video like this. I want to see my daughter. I want us to be reunited. There's absolutely no reason for us to be separated and to be kept apart. They lied in court, and they spent a lot of money, and they took her whole childhood from me. But more importantly, they took her chance to grow up with a mother, and that's over now. She's 11, and even though she's not totally grown, the teen years are another thing. So we're entering a new era. But children need their mother, and I can't put a stop to this. They have to put a stop to it. Like, I can't do it because I can't afford to fight them in court. And any possible way to reunite with my daughter or to put an end to this would involve fighting in court, and I can't do that because it's not possible. The way our legal system is set up, it's set up to keep the wealthy in power and to protect the property of the wealthy. And in our court system, children are considered property. So there's just no way for someone without millions of dollars to fight someone who has millions of dollars. The person who has millions of dollars, especially in family court, will win every time. There's no two ways about it. And people think this stuff is funny. Adoption and child trafficking are often the butt of jokes in this country, and it's really got to stop, because this is childhood trauma that you're joking about, and it's not funny. Like, we've gotten so cavalier about calling CPS. Like, oh, you see something you don't like. Oh, people say, oh, they should call CPS. That's not true. No, they shouldn't. We should end this insane family policing that's happening because it's destroying communities, mostly low-income communities, and it has to stop. So, yeah, I could talk about this a lot. I just highly recommend, if you haven't already, you learn about family policing in the U.S. and read about our adoption industry and our family courts and the corruption in CPS and family courts. But aside from all that, I love my daughter with all my heart. She's going to be 11 on Tuesday, and I just want to see her. I just want to give her a big hug. She only lives 20 minutes away, so this shouldn't be a problem. But my ex used the court many years ago to get full custody and to prevent us from having any relationship. And so we haven't had any contact since this day, which was in 2017. And I don't, you can't get time back. So even if I won the lottery and I could afford to fight them in court, there's just no way to ever make this okay. It just has to stop. The only way to stop it is just to let us see each other, let us reunite. She has a right to see her own mother, and I should have a right to see my daughter, regardless of whether or not her dad likes me or not. There's no reason to keep us apart. I never abused or neglected her at all. He got me on a technicality. He got me to sign a bad agreement because he had a lawyer and I didn't. He was able to coerce, manipulate, strong arm me into a bad agreement. And then just because I didn't take her to preschool, which obviously preschool is not even mandatory, and I didn't want her to go to the school, and I thought as her mother I should have a say. So I didn't take her to preschool, and he lied and said she had pertussis, and I didn't take her to the doctor. And because of that, they ruled against me, saying it was negligence. But there was never any real negligence. Not taking your daughter to preschool is not negligent, because I was spending the day with her doing things that are much better than public preschool. And I wasn't neglecting her at all. I just wanted to spend that time with her. And she really didn't like school, and I think she was too young for it. And she was already being bounced back and forth between us. So I just listened to her. And I tried to talk to him about it and say, this school isn't really that great for her. Let's try to talk about it and come up with a better solution. But he refused to talk to me. Because this was all part of his strategy to get full custody. So because I didn't take her to preschool, and then he lied and said she had pertussis, which was a total lie, was not true, was never proven. But false allegations and $200,000 was all he needed to get full custody. And that was 6 years ago. I fought as hard as I could to get her back, but he just kept blocking me in everything I tried to do. They basically said that they were taking her because they thought I had some kind of mental problem. I bent over backwards, proving to them that that wasn't true, even though I knew it was just a bullshit strategy to get custody. Nowadays, sadly, all people have to do is, people are the CPS and family court and all these things. They're selling kids, so they're incentivized to make false allegations to take the child from the mother so they can profit. They'll come up with any reason to take a child, and this is well known. If you read about CPS and corruption and family court corruption, you'll see they can use any excuse to take a child because that's how they make their money. So all they have to do at this point is make some vague suggestion that there's something wrong with your mental health, and that's it. You could lose your child and never see them again. And I went through years of therapy. I also got evaluated by a licensed psychologist and a licensed psychiatrist. And I got all this proof that there was nothing wrong with my mental health. I did this all while I was separated from my young child. And that wasn't good enough. Oh, I also signed over my HIPAA rights so that my ex-husband and his lawyer could read all the notes from my therapy sessions, which is a huge invasion of my privacy. But I did it because I thought it would I thought it would help me reunite with my daughter. And even though I provided them with all that proof, it wasn't admitted by the court, and my ex just won't let me see her. He just kept fighting me in court until I was totally bankrupt and I couldn't fight him anymore. And I also realized that it's all a scam and that they'll just keep fighting forever as long as there's money to be made. So anyway, this has nothing to do with my daughter's best interest. It has everything to do with him having total control and ownership of my daughter and of punishing me and using her as a weapon to hurt me. And I just want it to stop. He's punished us enough and he's hurt us enough. Maternal separation trauma. She was taken right before her 5th birthday. Maternal separation trauma causes developmental PTSD. You can read about this. I know I have been tortured this past 6 years and by not having my daughter and not being able to see her and having my motherhood stolen from me and my chance to raise my daughter completely. They took it. They took everything, every memory, you think about it, every time, every opportunity to tuck her in at night and read her a bedtime story and all of that stuff, like it's gone forever and you can never get that back. And she's going to be 11 on Tuesday, and it would be a great gift to let us reunite with each other. I am willing to let bygones be bygones, but I can't fight them in court. It's just not possible. They're multimillionaires and they have a very, very aggressive lawyer, and I cannot possibly compete with that. And like I said, even if I won the lottery and I could somehow pay my living expenses while paying my child support, while paying a reunification therapist and a lawyer, even if I was able to do all of that, she already grew up without a mother, and that was not in her best interest. It was all just cruelty, unnecessary violence and cruelty, and I don't really understand it, but he was angry at the time and he spent a lot of money, and I think he kind of got taken for a ride by his lawyer, and there's no going back. That's what happened. Am I forgetting anything?